After the assassination, when Lyndon Johnson looked around for what he could pick up from the Kennedy administration, he found that President Kennedy, and Robert Kennedy to some extent, had begun thinking about a much broader attack on the issue of poverty. And so he called upon many people to advise him on what to do and how to do it, and established a task force on poverty that included many of the Kennedy staff people, and I was there among them. And my task, among others, there were three of us who led the education initiative, was to really propose draft language for the bill, the Economic Opportunity Act, that would define what was possible in education. So President Johnson then calls on a broad variety of assistance and help. And he gives in January, he gives the State of the Union address, really within 2 months of President Kennedy's assassination. And much to everyone's surprise, with no lead press release, he calls for a war against poverty. And no one knows exactly what that means. And so then he's calling on people to help him define what this war on poverty would be about. Several federal agencies wanted to run the anti-poverty program. The Labor Department, Pat Moynihan, as its major representative, argued very strenuously for that. And when Moynihan couldn't get his way, he basically picked up his marbles and left the committee. Wilbur Cohen, who was the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, thought that it should be done within that agency. But neither HEW nor Labor carried the day, and the office was created within the Executive Office of the President. That means that we had, within the federal bureaucracy, a superior position. And that became very important in thinking in the carrying out of several of the programs. And I then wrote a memo calling for a national demonstration of higher education involvement with low-income kids. And that memo worked its way up to Shriver. And Shriver called me up. You have to understand, the background is OEO was not a hierarchical organization. Shriver had a phone system on his desk with 200 lines, and he could call any of us at any time. He didn't have to go through our superior staff and so on. So I was really a low, mid-level position, but we were on a first-name basis. And it was remarkable experience. So he called me up and he asked me to come out to his estate and sit down and talk about it. Anyway, it was clear that Shriver had not only read the memo, but he wanted to go in that direction, but he wasn't quite sure. And so he then asked me to make a presentation before the senior staff. And so I did, and it's sort of the equivalent of an orals, for a doctoral program. And it was at that meeting that then he allocated $25 million to the first demonstration. And there were 17 programs around the country. And then it was up to me to figure out how to staff it and organize it. I mean, we were optimistic about the opportunity. We were also pessimistic about the long-range chances of this kind of initiative and force being sustained over several years. The programs, though, had considerable support. Upward Bound had support within the higher education community. Head Start had really calmed the concerns of which there were many, from the nursery school people that these kids were too young and they would be emotionally harmed by that. That issue, by that time, by 1968, had largely passed, and both early childhood people and again public school people were much more supportive, and so on for the other programs. The legal community, the justice community, were much more supportive of neighborhood legal services, even though Nixon administration tried to. They really went after that and succeeded to some extent in lessening the strength of the boundaries of what they could do and what they couldn't do. The most powerful part of Upward Bound are people's stories of how it affected their lives. So there are 4 or 5 members of Congress who are Upward Bound: Oprah Winfrey, Patrick Ewing, 2 astronauts, and so on. I mean, it's across the board of what has happened to people and how strongly they credit Upward Bound for the turning point in their life. And one needs Upward Bound and programs like it to bring students, poor kids, to the point where they can take advantage of Pell Grants, where they can take advantage of what's in college. There is such incredible distance still today between kids in poverty as they grow up and what college represents, what it is. I mean, when you see these kids go onto a campus for the first time, it's like bringing a 7-year-old to Disneyland. I mean, it's a wow experience. And then they have a program, Upward Bound, that helps them not only understand it didactically, intellectually, but also emotionally and educationally.